Hey folks, this is Kalani. The Midnight Prepatch is finally here, and it introduces some massive changes to the game, including huge overhauls to almost every class and spec. The base UI has so much more additional functionality, which you're going to need to make use of because a lot of add-ons aren't going to work from here on out. The new transmog system lets you really customize your character's looks, and you can set up auto-swapping outfits depending on various circumstances. The housing feature is now fully available with more exterior housing options, neighborhood-wide endeavor events, charter neighborhoods, and a new higher level cap for your house. You can also play the new Devourer Demon Hunter spec, check out the new Training Grounds PvP mode, and we have even more content coming our way in just a week's time. There's a lot to do and a lot has changed, so let's go over what you should do first in the Midnight Prepatch to get adjusted in the new patch, and go over what new content there is to explore. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. The very first thing you're going to want to do in Prepatch is simply get your bearings. A lot has changed with this patch. Your class will play very differently, your talents will all be reset, the base user interface has seen a huge facelift, most of your add-ons probably aren't going to work, and this patch also introduced the stat squish for the Midnight expansion. So, to wrangle this all together, I would take a peek at your spellbook to see what's stuck around and what's been ripped out, because chances are you'll have far fewer spells than you did just a couple of days ago. The good news here is that most classes and specs are quite a bit simpler to play, so getting back up to speed shouldn't take too long at all. Setting up your bards should be nice and quick. You'll find most classes only have about 4 to 6 rotational abilities, a couple of throughput cooldowns, and a handful of utility spells thrown on top. Your class guides on Wowhead should mostly be up to date for the Midnight Prepatch, so if you want to pop on over there to see what kind of rotation you're working with and to import some talent sets to make things quick and easy, I would highly recommend that. If you want to tinker about with your new talents by yourself, that is of course up to you, but if you're wanting to quickly get set up, I would just import some sets from the class guides for now. The stat squish might take a little bit of time getting used to, but you can't really do anything about that. Numbers are going to be smaller across the board, so you'll have less health, you'll deal less damage, monsters have less health, they'll deal less damage, and your item level will be lower compared to last week. Hopefully nothing will really change in the grand scheme of things though, and I imagine it would be kinda hard to tell with the class changes anyway. All of the numbers are just going to be smaller as we head into Midnight. Now, one thing that does tend to break during a stat squish is legacy content, like old raids or dungeons. So if you like to run old content for mounts or transmog, you may run into the odd issue where you just can't kill a boss anymore due to scaling or number problems, but those issues are usually ironed out fairly quickly, but it is something to keep in mind. As for add-ons and the user interface, this will come down to personal preference. I would recommend you go through your add-on list and delete any add-ons that you don't use. This is the perfect time to clean up your add-on list because chances are most of them won't work in the way that you're used to anyway. For any add-ons that you absolutely want to use, see if they're updated for the pre-patch. If they are, great, update them, see what's changed, and then decide if they're actually worth keeping around in their new state. If they aren't updated, you can either wait to see if they do get updated or just remove them. You won't be able to use any out-of-date add-ons in the Midnight Prepatch, so just keep that in mind. Things like damage meters, boss mods, unit frames, nameplates, and weak auras are changing quite significantly, and you'll actually have options in the baseline UI to replace those specific add-ons and their functionality. Most of these new options can be found in the gameplay enhancements section of the options menu. You can turn on boss warnings and adjust some settings. There's a new external defensives option. You can turn on your new default damage meter, and there's also a diminishing returns tracker that you can check out too. After turning these new options on, you can further customize them in the edit mode, so you can really fine-tune things to suit your needs. It's worth noting that while a lot of add-ons can't provide the base functionality that they used to, quite a lot of them are being updated to provide customization options instead. So instead of Details Damage Meter being an actual damage meter, it could end up just being a skin or redesign of the default damage meter. The same goes for these other add-on options. So if you don't like how the default stuff looks, we should still have plenty of add-ons that change the visuals of your UI if nothing else. Another huge update is for nameplates. Now personally, the first thing I would do in here is turn off friendly NPC nameplates. This is totally up to you obviously, but I really don't like how cluttered my screen became when every NPC always has a nameplate turned on. That's much better. Now there are actually some pretty extensive customization options in here, way more than we had before in the baseline UI, so if you previously used an add-on like Plater, you might be able to get your nameplates looking pretty good just with these base UI options, so have a play around with those. There are quite a lot of other changes to the user interface and add-ons in general that you might want to explore, but those are the big ones to wrap your head around to get started in the pre-patch. At this point, you should have your action bars and talents set up, a good idea of your new rotation, and a workable UI, so you can start exploring everything else on offer in the Midnight Prepatch, starting with the new Devourer Demon Hunter specialization. Whether you have a Demon Hunter already leveled up or you're making one for the first time, you should now be able to enable the Devourer specialization in your talent window. Devourer Demon Hunters channel the power of the Void and turn it against your foes. Their abilities look quite spectacular and fit the Midnight Void theme perfectly. Devourer is also a mid-ranged spec, so you have about the same range as a Devastation Evoker, which gets you out of that melee death ball, but they're not quite a full caster either. Most of their abilities can be cast while moving, which gives them a huge advantage over other ranged or melee specs. There are two main gameplay styles, one focuses on the ranged gameplay and abilities, while the other focuses on dashing in and out of melee to get some big hits in before returning to your ranged filler rotation. Have a play around with both of them to see what jives with you. I wouldn't be surprised if Devourer ends up being a very powerful specialization overall. The combination of mobility and ranged combat is very potent, so I'm excited to see how it fares in the new expansion. The pre-patch also introduced the new transmog system, which is a whole lot of fun to play around with. Instead of transmogging each individual piece of gear, you can now set up outfits that save the transmog to the actual slot itself. This means that when you get a new piece of gear, you won't have to visit a transmog vendor to fix your sweet setup. The slot itself holds the transmog, so no matter how many times you change your equipped gear, your transmog will stay the same. When setting up an outfit, you can tell the outfit to ignore that certain slot to show the currently equipped gear in that slot, or set a specific transmog appearance from your vast collection. You can unlock over 20 outfit slots, and their cost will increase the more that you unlock. They do get a little expensive. Your first 10 slots will all cost less than 10,000 gold each, and then after that point you're looking at 10,000 per slot. That increases up to 20,000 per slot, and then 35,000 per slot as you keep going, so you definitely pay a huge premium to go past 10 or 20 slots. Thankfully, these outfit slots do unlock account-wide, so all of your alts will have 10 slots each to play around with if you get 10 slots unlocked. Each slot lets you save another transmog that you can quick swap to whenever you want. You can even drag the icons down onto your bars, and there's a fun new animation when you swap between outfits, so you actually don't have to visit a transmog vendor quite as often now. But where the system really starts to shine is in the Situations tab. You can assign different outfits to different situations, so you can have an outfit for when you're out in the world, one for when you're in town, another for when you're in your house, and your character will automatically swap outfits depending on how you set this up. It's really fun to walk into a town and just see your transmog swap over. You can set up outfits for different content types or world locations, different mount or travel styles, different specializations, talent sets and equipment sets, and you can even set up outfits for different forms on Worgen or Draxthir characters. There's a lot of customization in here, and there's a lot of potential for random fun. And then you can also browse through all of the sets you've collected or create and save custom sets in the respective tabs. It's definitely a more robust transmog system as a whole, and the Situations feature is really fun to set up and play around with. The housing system also has some new content to explore. Up until this point, we really only had an early access version of housing, so now that the pre-patch is here, the entire system is available to check out. The main new additions are charter neighborhoods and neighborhood endeavors. Charter neighborhoods are basically guild neighborhoods minus the guild part, so it's a private neighborhood that you can set up with your friends or community members, and it should work in more or less the same way. It's just not tied to a guild at all. To get started with a charter neighborhood, you just just need to find your housing district steward, tell them you're interested in founding your own neighborhood, ask about charter neighborhoods, pick a name, and then you'll need to obtain some signatures. So there is a minimum required number of players to set up a charter neighborhood right now. You can't just make a neighborhood all for yourself. That's pretty important because the other big update for housing is the Endeavor system. Endeavors are neighborhood-wide monthly events where every resident of the neighborhood works together to complete themed tasks like crafting, questing, clearing dungeons, and many more. You can unlock special vendors, decorations for the neighborhood, community currencies, and unique decor items. You can check your current Endeavor on your housing dashboard up at the top left. Just swap over to the Endeavors tab and you'll be able to check the neighborhood's current progress, what tasks you can complete to contribute, and it also keeps track of what each player in your neighborhood has done and which tasks they've completed, which is kinda cool. As you can see, there are plenty of ways to help your neighborhood, so no matter what kind of content you prefer to do, you should be able to add a few notches to that big Endeavor bar. As you progress through the Endeavor, your actual neighborhood will start to change as well, and more NPCs from the current Endeavor's theme will visit and offer new quests and rewards. As the months go by, we'll have different Endeavors to complete, different NPCs to befriend, and lots of cool new decor items to collect. If you are in a charter or guild neighborhood, your neighborhood leaders will need to choose an Endeavor for your neighborhood before you can make any progress. So I hope your leaders are quite active in the housing system, otherwise you might need to give them a poke to get the ball rolling. And then the last major addition for housing in the pre-patch is the addition of the Elven architecture options for your houses. So in an Alliance neighborhood, you'll now have the Night Elf architecture option, which changes the whole outside of your house and comes with a completely different set of customization options. So if you'd rather live in a Night Elf themed house instead of the human stone themed house, that's now an option you can toggle on or off. Over on the Horde side, you'll have the Blood Elf architecture option, which is definitely my personal favourite. You can set up grand spires, beautiful marble-like exteriors, and honestly, it just looks exactly like what you would expect a Blood Elf house to look like. Much nicer than the rustic orc huts we've had access to up until now, at least in my opinion. So have a play around with these new options to see which you prefer. You'll also be able to level up your houses a little bit further in pre-patch. They now cap at level 9, so you can earn more room types, decor items, decor placement budget, and medium-sized house exteriors open up at level 8. So if you've been really enjoying tinkering around with the housing system so far, you'll have even more to play around with as your house levels up. And then the last update you might want to check out during pre-patch is the new Training Grounds PvP feature. You can jump into the battle for Gilneas, the Silvershard Mines, or the Arathi Base and Battleground maps and face off against AI enemies that are much easier to take down when compared to your average player. This provides the perfect training ground to get used to how your class and spec plays in PvP, how each battleground works and how to best approach the rule set of each map, and to just get your PvP legs underneath you before you jump off the deep end and go up against real players. And if that never happens because you just hate PvP for whatever reason, at least this new Training Grounds feature gives you a reliable way to play PvP without it actually being PvP, which could be useful if you ever want to farm honor or any other PvP related rewards. That's pretty much all of the new content to check out so far in pre-patch. If you're looking for the new pre-patch event, that's going to start up next week on January 27th, alongside the Winds of Mysterious Fortune event, which will give you another chance to level up your alts with bonus experience buffs, and there's a big rep bonus to look forward to as well, so that'll help you square away any reputations you may not have finished yet. So we've got a week to get your bearings and get comfortable with your characters before some new content comes our way. But that's everything we would recommend you do first in the Midnight Prepatch, so that's it for this video. How do you feel about the massive class and system overhauls from what you've seen so far? Are there any add-ons that you're really struggling without? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can find links in the description or click the join button just below the video. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful in any way, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're always kept up to date. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.